Experience hospitality the Northwest way at the Everglades Hotel. Located on the banks of the River Foyle, the Everglades Hotel is just minutes from the centre of Derry, London with free on-site guest car parking. Whether you're here for a family meal, a big celebration, or simply a peaceful retreat, we'll make your experience as memorable as the sights in the city. Visit Everglades Hotel Derry for accommodation bookings, the latest menus, live shows and events, and much, much more. See you there.
Morning and welcome. It's another Monday morning. We're looking back over a weekend of action across the different grades in Ulster and involvement, and I'm delighted to be joined by Antrim's Amy Boyle this morning. As it says just before we started recording, between ladies football and camogie and minor titles, it's been a brilliant weekend for Antrim. And Amy, from your own point of view with the senior camogues, it must have been a brilliant bus journey up the road at the weekend with a piece of silverware sitting up at the front.
Yes, it was. I think at the start of the year, I don't know, had we intended it, our goal was to retain our position in, the 1B, but we set off that first match and we beat Wexford. I think we all kind of knew there's a real chance we can go on here and win this whole thing. So it was a lot of work by everybody, with panel of 29, and I think, everybody got game time and played a hand in it. So it was great to set up the road. First bit of silverware for us that was available, and a great result and a great team spirit now within the team.
I was going to say, with the team spirit, like last weekend, you were on the bus away to Ennis, and then you're up the road, a bit of preparation, and then back down to Dublin. So you're chatting about 29 people and your management team, and I was chatting to Nicole last week. It just must be coming together as a group in terms of, I suppose, team spirit.
Yeah, it's always an exciting position to be in. There's a lot of new players come onto the panel this year, so when you win together too, it makes a big difference as far as team bonding and stuff like that goes. So we're excited to be able to have so many new players on the panel, and the bus journeys and stuff like that. I suppose last week we knew we were through to the league final playing Clare, but we took a lot of confidence from it. A lot of girls, stepped up, took a place, for the final. So, we've just been making the most every match. So it's been a really great league season for us.
And on the game itself, I suppose Katrina got a goal. Katrina Graham made an unbelievable save. I think Katie might have set up Katrina for a goal. Katrina set up Katie for the goal. Then you got the third goal. Katrina was on one leg at the stage. Then you were 2 up at half time, and you had the breeze. What was the thoughts at half time?
I think, you were confident going in at half time, being 2 up, it was a big breeze, but we know ourselves, a breeze isn't going to win you a match. But we knew if we bring the work rate that we normally do bring, and we have been strong coming out at half time, so that's what it was. And we knew the players we had to come on to would probably be starting on any other team. So I suppose losing Katrina that early in the second half was a big blow. She was on fire on Saturday, so but that was the next thing. The next person in just stepped up, and that was it at half time. We kind of knew the players coming on are just going to be as hungry as the players that started. So
there was a spell then, probably for about 10 minutes, and obviously you've a better insight because you're playing in the middle of it, but Clare couldn't pull away, but neither could you. So what changed in your opinion? Because then you finished very strong then, Amy.
Yeah, I think just as I said, the players we have coming on, just like Lucia McNaughton, the leadership she brought round the middle third when she came on, Evan Martin coming on, got a score. I think, we knew that Clare would get their purple patch, so it was just, I suppose, minimising the damage in that time. So I think, we didn't panic or anything, and, then the scores kind of came and we got away kind of comfortably towards the end. But there was a stage in the match that maybe just was, not much between us, but we knew that was going to happen with Clare. So I think everybody just kept, even a hook or a block, it was the next ball. So we were just pleased to get over the line finally when the final whistle went. It seemed like there was maybe, I don't know how much extra time played. It seemed to have went on away.
Yeah, I think Roisin and Ivan and they got late points, and Cassie as well, I think, late on. So to win that title, like, it was probably a wee bit of a difficult situation too, because you had played them the week before and they had literally virtually nearly a brand new team. So the mindset going into it, was that difficult, going down to play the same team again, knowing you were going to meet a different team as such?
Yeah, exactly. I think it was. We took a lot of confidence from topping the table as well, but we all knew, we were kind of saying to ourselves during training, it'll be a completely different Clare team we're meeting. So, you have to take confidence from beating them, but at the same time, not too much and not underestimating them, because I think they had maybe played one player the week before. So it's just finding that balance. But it was a bit, I don't think I've ever come up against Clare even underage. So it really was a bit of the unknown, which can be a wee bit more nerve-wracking. But we're just always focusing on ourselves all week. We knew what we have. So that always kind of settles it, just focus on ourselves.
And Katie, I think she had the ball over the bar within about 19 seconds or 20 seconds or something really quick. So it was obviously probably part of the message, I would imagine, was good start, and that's probably set you on your way.
Yeah, exactly. The full forward line the whole day just looked so dangerous. Katie, Cassie, and then Katrina as well. And the three of them linked up so well. I think, most of the scorers maybe had played between the three of them, and it was one of them maybe got on the end of it and stuff. So, when you have a dangerous inside line like that, you're just getting the ball quick into them, and they'll get the scores. They've been doing it, the whole league. But that's the thing of our forward line. The next day it could be a different three. It's the competition for places is crazy this year.
Yeah, funny, that's what Kevin McNaughton said to me a couple of weeks ago. Whenever the team's announced, you never know what's coming. So I suppose that's good from the overall big picture for your group, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is the biggest panel like I've ever been involved in for Antrim. As maybe the last couple of years and stuff, we were only having maybe a couple of subs that could have came on, whereas this year you don't have a clue what the team's going to be during the week. It's, a difficult decision for management during the week, but it's a good position to be in. That's, what you want, everybody fighting for places, and it makes training so much more competitive as well.
And on a different angle, I saw a lovely picture of you this morning. I hope I pronounced this name right. Katie McNeil, the captain of the minor team, with the 2 cups. So it was probably an extra boost knowing that you're stepping into Division 1A next year. You'd imagine you'll take a few from the minor team. So how important, from a senior player's point of view, was that weekend that you won both?
Yeah, exactly. You really like when you have, free weekends or, matches off that you can go and support the younger teams as well. And I think there's serious talent coming through, and Antrim was so impressed with the minor victory there. There was already a few girls that were sitting there going, I can see them playing, alongside us next year. So it's a serious boost. That's what you need, and that's the hope then that them girls, with us winning the day before, hopefully they're wanting to be like, oh, well, I want to be playing senior camogie next year. I was down a few weeks ago as well watching the under-16 camogiers, and there's serious talent coming through. So it's just the hope then that them girls will come through and will keep the numbers going. There's serious talent in that team now. I was really impressed with their skill and their physicality. It was a great match as well. There was it was a really competitive match between them and Derry, and I think they were saying, that's the first time that big team has actually beat Derry underage. So they were buzzing with the win. So I was really glad to be able to be there and to bring our cup as well. It was a nice photo to get as well.
And finally, Amy, obviously you will be in Division 1A next year, but before that, I think Nicole said you will go down first in the Ulster Championship. So, and she did say you did speak a lot about Ulster, so that's probably the next focus. I'm sure Carolyn, Martin and the lads will be, if they haven't already done it, they'll be rolling that out very shortly.
Yeah, exactly. We played down a few weeks ago in the league as well, so I know we'll be expecting nothing less than a really tough physical match from them. We know it'll not be easy, but we're setting out hopefully retain our Ulster Championship. I think we haven't retained it in a long time, so that's the goal. That's the what the focus will be now going forward in training. So no, it was a great result on Saturday, but we've got bigger aspirations ahead as well this year.
I'm sure there's a lot of camogie to be played, but I'm sure Croke Park has to be in there somewhere, as like it's probably where everybody, well, it is where everybody wants to finish their year. So is that the overall big picture, with obviously a few obstacles to step over before that?
Yeah, exactly. We'll not look too far ahead of ourselves, but I think, you know, we took a lot of confidence out of our whole league performance overall as well. We beat 3 senior teams that are playing in the senior championship this year, so that's the hope, is throughout the intermediate championship then matches will stand to us. But I know from playing in the intermediate championship in 2021 and all the times before that, none of them teams will be easy to get by either. So that I think has to be everybody's goal, but we're not looking too far ahead anyway.
That's great, Amy. Thanks a million for finding a wee slot on a Monday morning, and congratulations on all the success. And obviously, you're a very familiar face with the Gaelic life through All Stars and different things. So a great career so far, and hopefully, from your own point of view, you'll be hoping for a great finish to the season. So thanks a million for your time, Amy.
Thank you.
Another league success of the weekend, Monaghan 126 to 19-point winners over Roscommon. So I saw bits and pieces of it. I suppose start with you, Sean. Monaghan just keep on scoring in terms of tallies.
Yeah, it's unreal. Mal, I know on last week's pod I'd spoke to Michael Bannigan just sort of about trying to fill in Conor McManus's boots, and he was laughing that, you know, now that he's gone, they're nearly getting they're allowed to get 2 points for everything he was kicking was only 1. But like Bannigan, I think he got 5 at the weekend. He's one of the players that has really stepped up. Andrew Woods as well got 3. Jack McCarran obviously with the 1-2. Rory Beggins just. He's the king of the arc at the minute with the 2-pointers. So their scoring tallies have been really, really impressive for a team, as we've mentioned every time we talk about Monaghan, how they were going to replace McManus. But I know it was the sort of lower levels of Division 2, but they're one of the form teams in the country at the minute, and the second half was so impressive from them. Just their pace coming from everywhere, really. You had mentioned Bannigan, like the likes of Conor McCarthy, in that half back line. You have Dylan Byrne, obviously, was the man of the match too. So they've plenty of quality, plenty of talent there, and they've probably come in under the radar a wee bit in terms of when we're talking results to the championship, because everybody's looking ahead to Donegal and Derry. That's a massive clash. Obviously, you have Armagh, the All-Ireland champions, Tyrone with Malachy O'Rourke. Like Monaghan have maybe just slipped down that conversation a wee bit, but I think their league performances on Saturday's performance in Croke Park maybe has propelled them back up into that again. I know they're waiting for Donegal and Derry to see who they play in the first round of the championship, but they're right in that conversation. They're right up there in terms of one of the big threats for those to the championship.
Yeah, you touched on Rory Began. Like, he scored more 2-pointers than 6 other teams across the top 2 divisions, and his level in Tyrone was 17. Like, that's the value he has. So now, looking into the Ulster Championship, what do you think Monaghan can take out of winning a game in Croke Park? And we'll obviously be focusing on the Ulster Championship quite a bit, but it has to be a huge boost now for Gabriel and the boys.
Yeah, 100%. And I suppose we have 3 weeks now to prepare for either Derry or Donegal, and they're kind of, even though they've won a league title and achieved promotion, they're sort of waiting in the long grass at the same time. I don't think they'll probably go in as underdogs. It depends who wins that game, I suppose. You know, if Derry pull it out of the fire, it'll probably be seen as a 50-50 game, whereas if Donegal justify their favourites tags, I'd say they'll be very strong favourites for that game against Monaghan. So yeah, it's all going swimmingly for Monaghan, and I've said it before that when Conor McManus retired, you were sort of wondering how things would go this year, but things couldn't have gone much better. Red Deer's the first piece of silverware in 10 years, so assume that particular fact's correct. So they'll be delighted.
And Sean, just the fact of actually the Croke Park environment of going there, because it seems to help teams if you get a couple of run-outs in Croke Park, and their game seems to suit it. Going by what we saw at the weekend, they seem to fit in.
Yeah, like people talk about sometimes more about it's only the league, but like there's no bad day out in Croke Park. There's always for fans and players and management alike. Just even getting into the changing rooms, like we mentioned, Dylan Byrne, one of the fresh faces into the squad this year. Like him coming in for his first game in Croke Park, just getting a feel of the environment, the changing rooms, how big the pitch is, and well, he put in a brilliant display on Saturday night. So the Croke Park thing, it has to be a big factor. You would imagine, the likes of Armand Donegal have used it in recent years. That when you get to Croke Park, you even if it's only the league, it just you're familiar with surroundings. You can push on now in the championship if you get back there. It's obviously going to be a bigger occasion, but you have that bit of comfort knowing you've been there before. So I think Monaghan, not only getting to Croke Park, winning in Croke Park, getting up the steps of the Hogan stand, I think that'll do their confidence the world of good. And we've seen, the last couple of years, Donegal and Armagh last year getting promoted from Division 2, Armagh going on winning All Ireland, Dublin and Derry the year before. Dublin went on won All Ireland in 2023. So I think the run out in Croke Park and winning that Division 2 title it'll boost Monaghan definitely.
And Niall, finally on Monaghan, have they put to bed this we're a small county story? Are they now a big dog on their own, I suppose, on their own merits? Maybe the media, maybe it's people like us that deem them to be a small county, but have they finally established themselves as a big force in the game?
It's a hell of a question, Mal. I suppose the one thing missing is that they've never been in an All Ireland final, and they've come close on a couple of occasions in the last decade. They gave a plenty against Dublin a few years ago. Dublin finished strongly in the home straight and they ended up winning the whole thing. And they played Tyrone in the All Ireland semi final in 2018 and lost by a point. Niall Sluggan got a late goal that day, which probably proved the defining score. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I think it'll probably take them reaching an All Ireland final at some point for people to maybe put them in the same bracket historically as your Trones and Armaghs and things like that. And obviously Down and Cavan and Donegal and Derry. I think I've rhymed off all Ulster counties that have not just got an All Ireland final but won an All Ireland title. So it might take that for them to get the ultimate respect, as it were, Mal.
And final point before we finish off part one, Niall. Mickey Hart, he's doing it again, another title, and awfully, I know it's not an Ulster-based success, but Mickey's an Ulster man, and he seems to always deliver, and he always seems to deliver in his first year.
He always seems to deliver league titles. He's won a bag full of them in the last number of years. Obviously with your own Derry last year. I watched the match and they were full value for it. Kicked some cracking scores, 2 really nice goals. Kildare were disappointing. I thought it was sort of the same old Kildare. They were just a wee bit robotic or something. I don't know if Daniel Flynn's injured or not in the setup or whatever, and I know I'm showing ignorance here, but he had something special about him, and I think they need a lad like that. And Offaly are obviously doing a lot of good work behind the scenes under Michael Dugnan, both hurling and football, so they seem to be trending in the right direction.
Before we come back in part two, we'll take a look. Down had won their Division 2 hurling title, but we'll hear from our sponsors, Hastings Hotels.
Experience hospitality the Northwest way at the Everglades Hotel. Located on the banks of the River Foyle, the Everglades Hotel is just minutes from the centre of Derry, Londonderry, with free on-site guest car parking. Whether you're here for a family meal, a big celebration, or simply a peaceful retreat, we'll make your experience as memorable as the sights in the city. Visit Everglades Hotel Derry for accommodation bookings, the latest menus, live shows and events, and much, much more. See you there.
Yeah, part two here, and we had success on an Ulster point of view in the hurling Division 2 Down. We're 422 to 318 winners over Kildare. They had already been promoted, which was a significant story from a few weeks ago with Ronan Sheehan taking them up to Division 1, but they've now added silverware. They were 2 points down at half time. Then they conceded 2 goals, and I think it was something like 3-11 to 12 points down. And like Kildare is a significant team. Like they've always been they've always been around that level, and Down had a dig out a result against them earlier in the season. But Tom McGrattan, he scored 2-5, but one of his goals, I can't remember which of them it was, first or second, but for such a big man, he's got a great touch, and he was able to nip in, and the stick work was top drawer. Then Pierce McCrickard and Owen Sands, they added points to sort of keep the thing ticking for Down. I thought Owen Sands was brilliant. I thought he was an absolutely class player. And I know that Ronan Sheehan, there was a post put up on social media a few weeks ago of a podcast where somebody was actually laughing the fact that Down were in Division 1 and the fact that they're going to be playing all these other teams. But like Ronan, he took exception to it. But Owen Sands was one of the players he pointed to, like the level of respect that man deserves, and he added that at the weekend. Mark Fisher's goal probably broke Kildare. It was a long range ball dropped in. I'm not sure if somebody else could have touched. There was a couple of down hurls in around the box. It had ended up in the back of the net. And then as they pulled clear, Stephen Keefe made 2 saves. Probably for a goalkeeper of his standards, are probably routine because he's a brilliant keeper. But they were vital because Kildare were coming snapping back at them. And then I think it was Tim Prenter got the goal to just finish it off, and like he was very, very nippy. He got through early on for a score, and he looked like a man that meant business. And as I say, he had that pace to go through, and that topped it off. But an excellent result, to cap off a brilliant league campaign. They've got a season in Division 1 next year to look forward to. That'll be something they'll really focus on to see, can they go to that next level again. It'll boost the game in the clubs because we've obviously they picked from a small pocket of clubs, but a huge level of reward. They play Carlow away in the first round of the Joe McDonagh, so that'll be the immediate focus. But an absolutely brilliant story of, like, I saw them playing Derry earlier in the season, and they looked absolutely bang on. They hammered Derry, to be fair. I know Derry, Ronan did say that Derry were missing a few key players, but I think he was just being modest. I think Down were just on the money and have continued to do that. And they probably epitomise the persistence word because they just keep the panel stuck together. They added in a few people from the McGeehan Cup winning teams, and that made them the full package. And then the other side of it was Fermanagh. They lost their league final to Louth. I was probably quite surprised by this. I know there was quite a margin in the group stages, but I fancied Fermanagh to have won that one. But unfortunately, the probably negative side of the hurling finals at the weekend is just they weren't in Croke Park. And I remember interviewing Dominic McKinley when he was involved with Derry. They had won a league final in Ederny. He says, no disrespect to Ederny because the facilities were brilliant, but he says these games should be in Croke Park. And probably the disappointing factor is that in Enniskeane, which is also an excellent venue, we've all been there, it's good, but they had no 65-metre lanes marked on. However, it just wasn't good enough, to be honest. Like, imagine going to Croke Park at the weekend and there's no 45s on. Same thing. So I don't know what your take on it is, but I've often said that I felt that Croke Park's used too often from the point of view it's always empty. But is it a case of all finals need to be in Croke Park or none? I don't know what you think yourselves, lads.
That's sort of where I would be with it, Mal, to be honest. I would be on board with you in thinking that, Croke Park at the weekend, what was there, 11,000 there on Saturday night or something like that? Like, does that need to be, do them 2 games need to be in Croke Park? Could you get a double header somewhere else maybe if you're looking at a double header, or could you play them 2 league finals separately? I completely understand where the hurlers are coming from because I don't see why they're not playing Croke Park. If the football's playing Croke Park, probably if it was up to me, none of the league finals would be playing Croke Park because I think you would get better atmospheres around the grounds if you spread it out a wee bit. Like Kerry and Mayo on Sunday, wasn't great. And just looking at Twitter, judging, that's a bad place to be judging things off, but just judging things on Twitter, didn't seem to be a great atmosphere. There was nothing. While I thought games in, was it Limerick a couple of years ago? They met, well, it's more than a couple of years ago, it's about 10 years ago now. And the place was hopping for an All-Ireland semi-final. I would sort of be more on board with that, but I completely understand the hurlers, and I would in complete agreement with them that if the football finals are in Croke Park, the hurling finals should probably be as well.
And Niall, is that what it comes down to? Just attendances and money and whatever? Because I suppose consistency is probably what where me and Sean are. Is that where you are as well?
Yeah, I think it's just about having equal respect for the football and hurling fraternity, so to speak. It was interesting that the Fermanagh and Louth managers put on a bit of a united front after their league final and through the Gales, which is a great wee spot for a match. It was at the Dalton Cup final there last week, so there's nothing wrong with through the Gales as a venue at all. But obviously they wanted to play the game at Croke Park. Trevor Hilliard, the Louth manager, said there was no fourth official. Joe Baldwin said they didn't find out the venue and time for the game until lunchtime on Tuesday. So I suppose a lot of people who are hurling men or hurling women say that Croke Park sometimes play lip service to hurling and whatnot, and it's you can kind of see their point in a situation like this, and it just screams inequality, I suppose.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same place there. And as the hurling championships develop into the Joe McDonough and the various grades, you can find out all about it here at GaelicLife.com, and we'll be following the progress as those teams head into championship hurling. So I suppose, Sean, we're going to look back on summary of the rest of the weekend's results. You have the wee graphics made up for us there.
Yeah, there was ladies and camogie action to talk about at the weekend, and in Division 1, Armagh suffered their second defeat of the campaign. They lost to Meath 4-5 to 2-12. Doesn't impact their league standing. They're still going to the Division 1 league final. They faced Kerry in 2 weeks' time. Tyrone, however, were relegated from Division 1. They suffered a 4-10 to 2-8 defeat to Kildare. In Division 2, no real movement. Monaghan and Donegal weren't in the shake-up for promotion and weren't in the fight for survival either. So two pretty much dead rubbers here. But Monaghan lost to Westmeath 2-11 to 13, while Donegal lost to Cork 1-8 to 0-8. And in Division 3 then, Calvin defeated Limerick by a point, 0-10 to 0-9, while Down beat Carlow 6-7 to 0-4. In Division 4, there were the two semi-finals at the weekend, and Fermanagh and Antrim will meet in the Division 4 final in 2 weeks' time. Fermanagh beat Sligo 5-12 to 3-13, while Antrim were 5-8 to 3-10 winners over Leitrim. Camogie standings then, we covered Antrim obviously at the start of the show, and Derry have qualified for the league final in Division 2A. They beat Kerry 2-8 to 113 at the weekend, while Offaly defeated Armagh 2-17 to 0-3, and that's Armagh relegated back down to Division 3. Tyrone defeated Kildare at the weekend as well by 1.28 to 110. So that's all our results. We'll head into our highlights of the week then, and looking back at all our highlights of the week, we've picked 3 different players of the week, and Mal, I'll come to you first. You've picked Nicole McAtomney as your player of the week.
Yeah, she was awarded player of the game. She had 2 long deliveries that made goals, I think both for Katrine Dobbin. And I spoke to her last week just with a feature we did in Gaelic Life, and for any who's read it, it's basically she's a mother of 2. She's working, and her husband runs a very busy business, and she can find the time to play inter-county sport and to be player of the game in a final. I think says a lot.
On to Niall then. Niall, you've picked Tom McGrattan, the down hurler, for your player of the week.
Yeah, we gave him a shout out earlier, and he had a fantastic game. He scored 2-5, 2-1 from play, and both goals were excellent by all accounts.
And I picked Emer Smith from Fermanagh. She hit 1-8 for the ladies as they qualified for the Division 4 League final. Result of the week, a unanimous choice here. We picked Down's win over Kildare in the league final. So Mal already went into depth about that. So brilliant win for Down, and congratulations to everybody on their victory. Mal, you and Niall have both picked the same shock of the week, Limerick, winning the Division 4 football title.
Well, I didn't want to pick Offaly as a third shock because I did feel it was a shock. I just wanted to mix it up a wee bit. But Wexford were going really well. had got momentum, and they actually focused on keeping winning games after securing promotion. So I thought the momentum that might have carried them through. So a big win. And just on the result of the week, creditable mention to Derry Camogs at the start of the year. I think that 8 people out at training and were absolutely struggling. They didn't know where they were going. Maybe not 8. There was a low numbers anyway. I can't remember exactly. And here they are in the league final. So that needs added as well.
On shock of the week, I went for Armagh's defeat to Meath in the ladies in the final round of the ladies. Simply because Armagh led for the majority of this game. They got 3 first half goals and got another one from Kevin McNally, the substitute, in the second half, and looked at Meath at arm's length. And at 10 minutes of additional time were played at the end of the game, and Meath rallied. Emer Dugan was brilliant for Meath. She hit 1-1 at the end, and that saw Meath win by a point. In terms of score of the week, me and Mal were in agreement. It was Jack McCarron's goal in the league final for Monaghan. Superb bit of work. Ryan McAnespy cutting in along the line and sending it across to McCarron, who dummied onto the right foot. Now you picked Jack Bryant's goal for Offaly, which is probably the goal of the season, not only the goal of the week.
Yeah, it was just an unbelievable finish to the corner of the net from way out, and great piece of build-up play as well, and I think that was the defining difference between Offaly and Kildare. They just had a bit more cut and thrust about them. But yeah, sensational goal.
An unsung hero. Mal, you've picked Monaghan's man of the match, Dylan Byrne.
Yeah, Dylan Byrne is an advertisement for somebody in club football who can put their hands up. He stepped out of Maracloon's championship win, got into the team, started every game, which is a big thing. And especially, Sean, whenever they lost Killian Lavelle, they were sort of wondering how was their defensive matchups going to be. I didn't watch the game. Obviously wasn't in Croke Park, but the report seems to be he was on Ben O'Carroll, and I think he held him to a point. But he did so much going the other way, and his kick passing, and it's great. And I've been taken in by the new rules and the kick pass, and it's just my new talking point. And Dylan Byrne, as a defender, as a newcomer, just typified that. What a performance!
And now Katrina Graham was your unsung hero of the week.
Yeah, great result for Antrim Camogs, and Katrina had a brilliant game, made a number of cracking saves, and she kind of played as a sweeper as well. So fair play to her.
And I went with Gary Mohan. I just think he's so important for Monaghan and around the middle. He's just that typical sort of spoiler around the middle, but he can play plenty of football too and chip in with scores. And has played inside as well. So Gary Mohan was my unsung hero of the week after his performance in the Division 2 league final. So I think that's all we'll have for today's show, folks. We'll be back on Thursday and we'll look ahead to the start of the Ulster Championship. Mal, I know we're hosting a Donegal and Derry preview this week. It hasn't been recorded yet, so we'll not build it up too much, but we're looking forward to the start of the championship.
Yeah, we'll be, as I say, we'll be going into detailed depth across all the championship with a massive supplement ourselves in Gaelic Life this week as well, and a Donegal and Derry one to see is there anything in the long grass that Derry can find to turn over Jimmy and the boys in Ballybuffet. We'll have to see. Maybe we'll get a miracle this weekend, Sean.
So that'll be Thursday. So make sure to check out all our social media posts for our podcast, and as Mal mentioned, our Ulster Championship supplement that's out on Thursday as well. There's plenty of good content in it as we look ahead to the Ulster Championship in football, ladies, camogie, and all the hurling action too. So there's plenty of content in it. So make sure to follow us on all our social media pages if you haven't already, and subscribe to our YouTube channel or our Spotify page if that's where you get your podcast. So see everybody on Thursday, and thanks everybody for tuning in today.